Hey guys, what's going on? Today we're going to be talking about the Rockseed laser level. This is not my very first laser level, although it is my very first self-leveling laser level. And we're going to do some comparisons to one that I already have, which is this unit over here that attaches to the wall. So this operates differently than this, and we'll go through the differences and why I find that this kind of sits around the shelf collecting dust a little bit more than I like, and fingers crossed that this will be a little bit more useful. All that coming up next here on Lights and Buttons. I want to start by making a note that this video is not sponsored. All the thoughts I mentioned here are of my own, and the company has no input in the production of this video. Let's check out the product. Pretty simple. Inside the box, we have the user manual, and the unit also comes with a padded case along with a set of batteries, which is pretty nice. This laser level is not a 360 unit, so the only part where the laser gets emitted from is the front over here. Speaking of lasers, a bit of a safety 101 here. If you have any kids or pets around, make sure they don't stare directly into the laser while the unit is on to avoid any eye damage. Although a kid might think this is cool, this is not a toy for them. This is a toy for us adults. Also, if you have any cameras around, make sure you don't point the cameras directly to the laser just to avoid any potential damage to the sensors. Over here on the top, we have a single button for the laser on and off function. And then over on the side, not a whole lot going around here other than this side where we have a sliding switch. This controls the locking and unlocking of the pendulum for the laser alignment, and it doubles up as a power switch as well, which I'll cover later on. Moving over to the bottom of the unit, we have a battery compartment and then also a mount for a tripod. So we're going to put this onto this tripod and give it some tests, and then you'll see the results soon. Earlier in this video, I talked about having a laser level that I don't really use, and that's this one that's taped to the wall. We're going to turn this one on, as well as the Rockseed one over here, by sliding the switch forward. Now I'm going to take a pause here, and you might be wondering why this video is a little bit blurry and very dark. Well, that's because I locked the camera settings, the focus is set to the wall, and the exposure is also locked because I have the room light turned off, and there's a light coming in from the next room across shining into this wall. So this is probably the best quality of laser you'll see from these two in terms of brightness. And in a moment, we'll turn on the lights so you can compare what it looks like with the lights on versus off. But I want to say with this top laser, because of its design, one of the things I don't like is that it's not going all the way across, and I can adjust the angle, right? There's imperfections in the drywall that's causing the laser not to appear all the way through. And you can see there's a clear difference between this and something like the self-leveling laser that's on a tripod that can see, that can shine the laser right across clearly. And the same thing with the vertical line as well. Another thing with this unit is that to mount it on a wall, you either have to use a magnet or a set of pins. And with the pins, I don't feel like adding extra holes in the walls if I don't need to. So a lot of times I avoid that. And then, but also with the magnet, there's not a whole lot of surfaces other than maybe the corners where you can stick this on with a magnet. So it's a little bit more difficult to work with. And in my opinion, having something like this and even like a $10 tripod, right? This will self-stabilize, and we'll check the accuracy in a little bit. Now let's turn on the lights in this room. We have 6 recessed lights, and as you can see, this really affects the visibility of the lasers. I'm not sure how it's showing up on camera. I still see both of these lasers, and of course I can adjust the angle again, but you're not going to see this go 100% across. But it is still very visible if you're up close and working here. So not the end of the day if you have bright light shining. This is probably like a medium level of light. We're not talking about sunlight directly hitting the wall, which we'll test next. But you can see that it is a little bit more difficult to see with all the lights on in this room. So we're going to turn this one off and check out a little bit more on the Rockseed laser over here. We're going to turn off the light. And then as you can see, if I wiggle this, if this thing gets jolted, it's going to correct itself, and it does it pretty quickly. Now, if you're changing the angle, I'm going to start tilting this a little bit. And if the angle is too great, it's going to start flashing, indicating that it can no longer correct the level there. So I'm going to put this back, And then I'll show you one other feature. If I slide this switch back to the lock position to turn off, and I hold the top button on for 3 seconds, this will turn the laser on again, but this is in a lock position. So if you wanted to tilt this, even at a steep angle, it's gonna stay there and not flash. And this is useful in case you're trying to align photo frames along a staircase, for example, where things aren't straight and it's sloping upwards or downwards. And then once you're done, you can hold the top button for 3 more seconds, and then the laser will turn off. Next, I will test the laser's accuracy. In order to do this, I will perform 2 different tests. The first test will make sure that the horizontal laser is level, and then the second test will make sure that the vertical laser is plumb. In order to test the horizontal laser, I first aim the laser down the hall, then I select 3 different spots to mark with the painter's tape, starting with the closest point to the laser level. After marking the other 2 spots, I move the laser level to the other side, readjust for the height if the floor is slightly out of level, and then make sure that the laser lines up with all 3 spots. Next, to test the vertical laser, I used a door frame to test 2 different points, and then I also added a 3rd point for extra accuracy. Then, similar to the first test, I moved the laser to the other side and then test to make sure that the laser aligns with all 3 points. I see in both tests that the laser hits all 3 points, meaning that the horizontal and the vertical laser lines are accurate. Unsurprisingly, in direct sunlight, if I turn on this laser, you can see that it'll get washed out right away. I can actually see a little bit of laser in direct sunlight, but I'm also like 1.5 feet away from the wall. Let me go back, and from 10 feet away, I can see the laser pretty well. Actually, better than I thought in indirect sunlight. So if you have light coming around in the room from a little bit of sun, you can still see the laser line, but obviously not in direct sunlight. At the end of the day, if I had to choose between using a wall-mounted laser level versus a tripod-mounted self-leveling laser level, I would choose this one all day long. And the reason is it's much easier to use, and although this does come with an additional feature which I didn't cover before, you can mount this onto this thing over here, and this will be allowing you to control the angle precisely, but I've never actually used that feature before. So it might be one of those things where I bought the wrong tool, but for this, it just kind of fits just right. Slap it on a tripod, turn it on, and it just does its thing. So the only thing is that this doesn't come with a tripod. You can spend $10 or $20 to get an additional tripod for this. So cost-wise, the difference between these two to begin with isn't that much different, and then you add on a $10 or $20 tripod, and then you're set. That concludes my initial impressions on the Rockseed self-leveling laser level. The only other thing I can think of is its longevity. For something that's cheaper in terms of pricing, I'm kind of wondering how long it will last. But also, I'm a DIYer, so I'm not using this all day, every day. So once in a while, I'll bring this out to hang some pictures or add some shelves. So I'll make a follow-up video on some future projects that I'll use this on, and then I'll do a follow-up in terms of how it performs and how long it'll last. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you haven't done so already, and I'll see you in the next video.